Okay, so when you think about paying for something online, what's the first name that pops into your head? For most of us, it's got to be PayPal, right? It's this absolute giant in the world of finance and tech, so baked into how we shop online, it's practically part of the furniture. But before we get into the battles it's fighting today, let's rewind and see just how big this titan really is.
So just how big are we talking? Well, take a look at this number, $1.7 trillion. That's not a typo. That's the total value of payments PayPal handled in just the last year. It's a staggering figure, and it really shows you just how woven into the fabric of the global economy they are. The question is, how on earth did they get here?
Right, so how did this happen? How does a company that started out doing something completely different end up becoming the default way to pay online for millions and millions of people? That's the incredible story we're going to unpack today. And let me tell you, it is a wild ride, full of crazy pivots, intense power struggles, and an almost unbelievable concentration of talent. All right, let's kick things off. Our story doesn't start with a buy now button on a website. Nope. It starts with those clunky handheld gadgets from the late 90s. Believe it or not, this is where the powerhouse we know today got its very unlikely start. First up, let's talk about a company you've probably never even heard of, Confinity. Founded back in 1998 by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin, its whole mission had absolutely nothing to do with payments. Seriously, they were all about making security software for handheld devices. Yeah, they were building encryption for your Palm Pilot. That was the big idea. But then, in 1999, things took a turn. They came up with this feature that honestly seemed kind of like a party trick. It let you beam money from one Palm Pilot to another using that little infrared port. You'd line them up and zap. It felt like a gimmick, but that core idea, making digital person-to-person payments super simple, that was the little spark that was about to start a massive fire.
And then things got, well, they got really messy. In March of 2000, Confinity merged with a company called X.com. And X.com was an online bank founded by, you guessed it, a very young Elon Musk. The result? Total chaos. You had two brilliant founders with totally different visions all under one roof. The internal drama was, let's just say, intense. It got so bad that Musk was eventually pushed out as CEO. But finally, in 2001, the combined company looked at what was actually working, what people loved, and rebranded the whole thing as PayPal.
So the company somehow managed to survive its crazy, turbulent birth. But what happened next, honestly, it was even more incredible. PayPal found its killer product, and in doing so, they brought together what might be the most legendary team in Silicon Valley history.
So where did PayPal find its footing? On eBay. See, back then, eBay's own payment system was just awful. It was slow and clunky, but PayPal, it was simple, it was fast, and buyers and sellers on eBay absolutely loved it. It spread like wildfire too, partly because they had this brilliant and super expensive referral program where they literally paid you to sign up your friends. It worked so well that by 2002, PayPal was handling the payments for almost 70% of all listings on eBay. Just total domination.
All that insane growth led to a super successful IPO in early 2002. And you have to remember, this was right after the dot-com bubble had burst, so a successful tech IPO was a huge deal. But that freedom didn't last long. Just 7 months later, eBay, which pretty much realized it couldn't live without PayPal, just went ahead and bought the whole company for a whopping $1.5 billion.
Okay, hold on. Before we go any further, we have to talk about the PayPal Mafia. And no, we're not talking about a crime syndicate. It was the nickname given to this just unbelievable group of early employees and founders. The eBay deal made them all rich, for sure. But the really important thing is what they did next. It's like it unleashed this massive wave of innovation across the whole tech world. So what was it about this group? What made them so special?
I mean, just look at this list. The sheer impact is mind-blowing. You've got Elon Musk, who of course went on to create Tesla and SpaceX. Reid Hoffman, he started LinkedIn. Peter Thiel co-founded Palantir. And get this, 3 of the early guys, Chad Hurley, Steve Chen, and Jawad Karim, they went on to create YouTube. Even the founders of Yelp came out of this group. It was this perfect storm, you know? They'd been through the ringer together, surviving the dot-com bust, and then suddenly they had all this capital and battle-tested experience to go out and build the next generation of tech giants.
So for over a decade, PayPal was part of eBay. It grew up there, but to become the absolute giant it is today, it had to get out on its own. And this next chapter is all about what happened when it was finally unleashed.
And that happened in 2015.
There was this big push from a famous activist investor, Carl Icahn, and PayPal was spun off into its own independent company again. And this was a huge deal. Being part of eBay had started to hold it back. But now it was free. It could partner with anyone it wanted, even eBay's biggest competitors, like Amazon and Shopify. The handcuffs were off.
And boy did it use that new freedom. PayPal went on a massive strategic shopping spree, trying to build a whole financial ecosystem. You can see it here on the timeline. Back in 2013, they snagged Braintree, and that deal brought in the peer-to-peer payment sensation Venmo. Then, in 2018, they jumped into physical stores by buying iZettle. In 2019, they added shopping and rewards with a huge $4 billion deal for Honey. And in 2021, they got into the buy now, pay later game by acquiring Paydi. See what they were doing? They were building something much, much bigger than just a payment button.
And that brings us pretty much to today. PayPal is an absolute titan, no question. But the ground is shifted underneath them. The company now finds itself in a brand new high-stakes fight for the future of how we all spend our money.
So, in one corner, you've got PayPal, the old guard, the established champion. Its biggest weapon? Trust. For more than 2 decades, that blue logo has meant your payment is safe. But in the other corner, the new challengers are seriously powerful. Think about it. Apple Pay is baked right into every single iPhone, making it almost invisible. You've got Block, formerly Square, and Stripe, who have totally won over small businesses and developers with their amazing tools. And they all have a much stronger connection with younger users. The battlefield is more crowded and more intense than it has ever been.
So, what's the plan? To fight back, PayPal brought in a new CEO, Alex Chriss, in 2023, and he came in with a really clear turnaround plan. And the new strategy is all about one word: focus. You can see the main points here. Instead of trying to be everything for everybody, they're going back to basics. They're making their main checkout product even faster and more profitable. They're pushing hard to make Venmo a real moneymaker by getting more merchants to accept it. And they're streamlining the whole company to cut costs. It's a back-to-basics approach.
And all of this leads us to the one big, lingering question. PayPal literally invented the playbook for online payments. I mean, they survived the dot-com crash, they launched the careers of some of the biggest names in tech, and they became a global standard. But now, in this new era, with all this fierce competition, can the original fintech giant reinvent itself one more time and win this new payments war? Well, its next chapter is being written right now.